So thank you very much for inviting me. You see, I skipped the Hedera and put just DLT in there because I don't want to. Of course, we are as T systems blockchain agnostic, and personally, if you Google me, you will find all over the place Hedera and my name connected. I have my reasons why I believe this is my favorite one or my favorite protocol. But of course, there it can be what I would like to present to you can be implemented or is true for many different protocols. And because I'm not the first speaker in this super lineup, thank you very much for that. I thought maybe it's not too bad to think about how do we innovate with these new things in the enterprise. What does it mean to bring that really to life? I need to click here. Here, where is my mouse? Now you should see again full screen. So first, the obligation, who is T-Systems? Tanvir, you already made a perfect introduction. I only have a couple of slides. Can I? Where are they? So now it worked. Just to give you an impression about, in the meantime, this T brand, which is now, come on. Here, oh no, I clicked too many times. I guess now it goes back. You see that this T brand is now in the meantime on place 11 of the most valuable brands in the world. So it's of course in America. I don't need to tell you about the T-Mobile, and I'm sure that T-Mobile is an important part of it. But what it shows you is that T is an important part of the European digitalization. I'm personally working for T-Systems Switzerland, so I'm in a very local place, having all these great technologies at my disposal then to do something with it. And of course, this T-Systems gives me superpowers. I can really then start to innovate and do the projects with all these technical possibilities. Therefore, also to bring you in, not just a slide of just a marketing slide per se, but more to say, to give you an impression what actually this T-Systems does, right? When we started with just data center stuff, then we see, okay, it's about powering global telecommunication. It's connecting travel without drivers. It's keeping shops stocked and selling, keeping hospitals running. So you could say it is, if you call T-Systems, and you're not just in Germany, I think it's the number one, of course, on the telco side. But for the rest of us, it is more you call T-System if it really depends on something. And so, for example, in Europe, we also then do the whole satellite systems, working with the European Union to go and do digital identity, for example, and so on. And to give you then also the obligate overview on a global scale, you see that there is, it's always this magenta, right? This color that is all over the place. And of course, it is nice that we have in the Americas as well, North and South, these two areas. We are very active in India, in Asia, and of course the homeland is Europe, even Central Europe, also so the German-speaking part of Europe, and the biggest projects are somewhere there. And you could then say that definitely Spain is a very important part also for our business that we do in Europe. So now to give you, or to go a little bit closer. When we talk about innovation, we normally start with trends, and I thought I'd bring you an insight of how T-System as a global company is approaching these things. So the next couple of slides would be to bring you down together. Is it new? I don't know, but at the end, it gives you the security, the assurance that the thinking that we have in the industry is at the right place. It's really happening. And if we go there, normally we start with the macro trends. And you see here, of course, sustainability is all over the place, definitely in Europe. But I think with also in America, it's huge with the Sustainability Act. I don't know anymore how it is called, but the things that you do there, don't have deep insight into what Asia is doing, but I think it's there as well. The whole talent thing cannot be underestimated. For me, it is the skills, right? To bring all these screwdrivers, all these toolbox to the people, to really have value in the hands of people. It's not just to provide the robots or the software or what do you mean. It's always people behind it. It's people that use these things, people that create these things. So it's continuously a continuous process to provide. Then, of course, the economic, the uncertainty in there, the hyperconnectivity. We cannot, the whole AI thing, I have no clue how it is in America at the moment. In Europe, it's huge. Everybody, now in the meantime, my grandmother explains me what ChatGPT does and stuff, right? And what we also have with T-System is that we start to go into the whole quantum computing thing. So also this side starts to be interesting for the enterprises. And if we look over that as a radar, what you see is on the left side cloud, in the middle digital, and on the right side security. I only focus now on cloud and digital for a moment, if I may. So you see that in the digital thing, you see in the middle Web3. You see on the middle right digital twins. You see deep learning, of course, in the middle of the whole thing. Multi experiences, edge computer vision. You see the edge cloud native. And if we then go and look at the cloud thing, it's all over the place, and none of these technologies would work if we don't have this infrastructure. Is it hyperscalers? Is it on-prem? Some companies are more developing towards cloud. Others are already coming back. And for me, important is that it's an ecosystem question. So if we go, as I let you read a little bit, or these are official slides. You can make screenshots and it's really one and I didn't create these slides. These are the slides that are officially done by T-System, by the CTO office on a global scale. That's how this organization looks at our market and interprets where the journey goes. And then when we go to the more digital and zoom in on the digital side, we see again that digital twins, generative AI, that the smart contracts, the blockchain, it's still there. It's not the case that we talked about these things 5 years ago and it makes no, because the hype maybe came a little bit down. It makes no noise anymore. In the contrary, we can now start building these things. And if we look here from an enterprise point, then what we see is now T-Systems is addressing more or less this vertical markets like healthcare, public, automotive, public transport, these things, manufacturing. And you see actually that it goes almost in all situations to ecosystems, to collaboration, to co-creation, to flexibility, to hyper personalization. You can imagine that it makes a lot of sense to bring in our decentralized databases, you could say, to these things that we go in there. And if we then look at a little bit at how I can here go a little bit back and forth, that's how our team thinks. How important are these things? And you see here again, I mean, Web3 is in there. trust and digital identity is in there. Next gen software development, what that also means, of course, at the moment we have the hype around AI and the cloud, but it's clear that these things are happening. Here's the same slide with the other four verticals, and of course everybody would have here a little bit different coloring or how important it is, but for me it is that the organization comes together to find this way of communication in 2023 makes a lot of sense. And therefore, we can then have even a discussion. You invited me, Tanver, for half an hour, so I prepared something like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and maybe having a Q&A is more interesting then as well. But so I prepared more or less one slide here, and this is a slide that I think that's how I function, how I translate now, how to bring these three things. And you see the three pillars. We have this continuous delivery for the nerds of you in application development. It's clear. It's all to be able in the center to have software in the hands of people. You have continuous innovation, which is the whole thing, how to develop a business case, how to go through and be sure that you address the right customer. So when you think from the customer perspective, so you could say in this on the left top, this ecosystem design, this includes things like tokenomics and you need to think in the whole innovation process today on an ecosystem level. Then you have to bring in, doesn't matter if you do that from design thinking or more. It is a continuous process of innovation. And you have to think from the actors within that ecosystem. So the whole lean startup, you could say, the whole continuous innovation stuff comes in there. If you are not able to bring viability for the different actors in the ecosystem, there is no reason to actually have success with that ecosystem. It's exactly there where you put then where our technology. I'm absolutely convinced that the technologies we are talking about are in there to be able to have values that flow, to vote, to have transparency, what's happening in this particular ecosystem, and to figure out if it makes sense what we do. You need to measure that. So you need to measure innovation. You have it's not the time. I try here to use the word observability. You could say it's just measurement, it's monitoring. On a machine side, in a data center, you would monitor if this machine worked for 95.9599, whatever. But actually, what we should measure is, do we provide the value to the different actors in the ecosystems that we wanted to? Only then we can measure success. And therefore, the whole tech stack, continuous delivery, what we definitely see is that this sovereignty comes in there. You could use that in whatever makes sense in your industry. At the moment here in Europe, is the sovereign cloud is absolutely a buzzword that works. But what it means is, either as a person or an organization or a whole ecosystem, there is data that is valuable and not just for everyone. On the other side, we need to value that data. We need to add incentivation, let's say incentivation-based business models and so on, into this word sovereignty. And there, underneath of these platforms, are data spaces. And that gives us, and of course we need the application development and to bring that, but that gives us the plausibility and the okay. Sorry if I don't know which is the English word, but you understand me. The credibility. I wanted to say that it gives us the reason, the credibility to really build these platforms. And very recent is also when you then look into the whole thing, let's say the metaverse stuff, what is happening on ubiquitous.
Roland, did we lose you?
I think we did.
I think we lost him. Let's just give him a minute or two to get back. To our audience, yeah, we may have lost Roland. He's dialing in from Switzerland. So let's just give him a few seconds to see if he can come back. All right. Yeah, he's joining back.
One, two, three, test.
I think you're back now. We lost you for a few seconds, but yeah, please continue.
Cool.
Good to have you back.
Please, sorry, these are the enterprise infrastructures, right? We have to live with these, what we have at the end. I share again. And here, this should still be the same. This was my talk. All I wanted to say is that this continuous knowledge is important. It comes now. Maybe if for the ones of you who are in things like the Metaverse Standards Forum, you see these. In the meantime, we have companies like Pixar, NVIDIA, Adobe, Autodesk, and Apple who start to create organizations together. If someone would have told me that these 5 companies start to build or to work even close together, I wasn't sure if I would have believed that. And therefore, the promise also is, of course, what we do now with within T-Systems with these things. And also this is an, I clicked, so let's see if it happened. Just a second, otherwise I do it here. Yeah. So you see a little bit here. This is a handful of projects where we are then in there. And the first thing that you see is that it's not just us. It's always something like partnering ecosystems together with other enterprises. And of course, the whole, if you looked at the use cases, is it health? Is it energy? Is it automotive? Again, this sovereignty, sustainability, everywhere you see these things. And now I hope that I could make the bridge when you see the last one, this impact measurement and CO2. It should directly, you should be able to connect the dots and see how important these elements like the tokens then are underneath of this whole thing. Yeah, that was what I prepared for this shorter amount of time. I hope are there questions, and I hope I met Meryl, unless this was a good start for the whole day.
It definitely was a great start to our event, Roland. I had a question personally, and was wondering if you're at liberty to share this. There's a lot of great projects out there, and you all picked Hedera as a strategic partner. Just your thoughts on what you all like most about Hedera. I personally I appreciate their technology, but we'd love to get your perspective.
And connected to what I just tried to tell the story. You see the reason, so number one for me, it is a technology that can scale. Why? And scale, with scaling, I mean technology-wise and business-wise. So the whole idea of how the council is set up, how the whole enterprises from around the world come together was and is an important part of the Hedera thing. Technically, for me, the big difference is that it is final, that it is deterministic instead of just probabilistic. And these elements give me a data structure, a decentralized data structure that I can use in these data spaces. As Hedera always said it, it's very low in the stack. It is a, but if the question is always, do I need these things? And yes, also, do I need a blockchain? Yes, there can be economic reasons to have it, right? Because we had yesterday at the university here in Zurich a nice group around a DAO framework that we were discussing, and very experienced people in the room. And at the end, we had to say, okay, there are so many open questions. It's not so easy. What does it mean to set up a DAO? If I go on the complete other side, if I connect to what I try to show you, it's really, how do we do these data spaces? Do we need a blockchain? And for, let's say, a national currency, a digital currency, or all these things? Or do we use it for voting? Or do we use it for identity? Or all these different use cases that then come up? And for me, Hedera is my personal tech screwdriver that I use to solve these things. Because it can scale, the transaction costs are low, and I have this decentralization, I have these different enterprises that guard me the network. Do I always need it? No. I need it then. When do I need the DLT, the blockchain? When I need it when I have the trust issue. When two actors are on the same page and I don't have the luxury to have some hierarchical thing that comes into the whole picture, where we can say, let's just use a centralized database in one of the hyperscalers, having that set up as a distributed system, and no problem to solve these things. But as soon as I have the trust issue, I need some proof that we are fair, that there is some sort of, that the economic is playing out that was promised to the different players in the system. And for me, this is the argument for Hedera. So for me personally, the Hedera argument is, it can technically do that, it can business-wise do that, it is final, it can scale, and it is cheap enough to have to pay the overhead for this trust. Because I'm personally quite convinced, there are always examples that would disprove what I just say, but I would say that storing a line of data in a centralized database should always be cheaper than using a decentralized or distributed, a decentralized system. And therefore, for me, the second part is that this is affordable to use in that thing. So technology-wise, set up, affordable, which gave me, maybe it's a little bit biased somewhere, right? I'm so long now that I work with Hedera. I have to admit that I personally don't look that often left and right. What are all the other protocols?
That's great. And I was asked to bring this up with you. What are your thoughts on adoption overall within the enterprise, right? I mean, 2-3 years ago, there was a lot of hype with blockchain. Now the hype is around AI, which is understandable. I personally feel it's time for the industry to really go and prove the value out, right? Without the distraction and all of that. But what are you seeing, from your vantage point about, enterprise adoption and what the business leaders saying out there?
So number one is clear for me. We are still innovating with all the good and bad of innovating. It doesn't matter if you run a smaller startup or have some economic thing, or here trying to get a whole ecosystem of enterprises together. So the rules of innovation still apply. So we are somewhere in the middle of going from startups to products. We are far away from any bringing it as a, there is a word, sorry, commoditization. We are far away from any commoditization. And therefore you have the challenge that if you have not always the right people in the room, and you bring these things up, that it can throw you out. So you still, when I say we are still in the innovation phase, I also mean that if you come up with something, there should be people who challenge that and say, I don't need that yet, and there is nothing there to go into. If you only have yay sayers around you, it's not innovation anymore. Then you are close to the mainstream, right? Everybody's start doing that, and therefore I believe we are still there. So don't be surprised if you learn that some big projects at the end don't use a blockchain at all, or that you are in a particular situation where the marketing team says, yeah, it would be nice, but I can not tell these things any. If we do that at the moment, we can skip our investors by the whole thing. But what you said, Tanver, is absolutely important. We need to build now. We need to prove that there is value in the industry. So we should not shoot against each other, but and here the protocol for A and here the protocol for B. But really, I really believe that Web3, I call it even Web 3.0. I'm an old web guy. I sold Web 1. I helped. I created software for more than 10 years in the Web 2. In the Web 3, I'm more in the consulting and innovation thing, and therefore, for me, Web 3.0 is really the next generation, the democratization of the thing that we call hyperconnectivity and where we come together. Great. So therefore, it's used. Don't be afraid if you figure out that your loved project doesn't use it. Doesn't mean that tomorrow it makes perfect sense to use it again.
Phenomenal. We really enjoyed your conversation. Thank you so much for sharing, your perspective, Roland. And we, love to have you back at an event in the future. And if I am in Switzerland, I will ping you, and hopefully we'll meet in person.
Oh yeah, then we go definitely for a good wine or whatever the beverage is that makes sense on your side.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I will listen a little bit in, and then because it's towards the evening, I will then part at the, let's say in half an hour or something like that.
I understand, and
thank you very much.
Morning available to you.